Grace and Jake, you'll be sleeping in the yard and taking care of the kids. Cameron, my son Liam's wife, sneered as she announced this, bringing their 7 grandchildren for the summer. Excuse me? My husband Jake and I stared at Cameron, thinking we must have misheard. But there she stood, correcting nothing, with that unpleasant smile. We've had little to do with Cameron before, but her showing up out of the blue, acting all high and mighty, was unbelievable. The 7 grandkids looked at us with worried eyes. Despite the situation, Liam lounged on the couch, nonchalantly opening a bottle of alcohol. Jake and I discussed what to do next in our bedroom. Images of Liam, Cameron, and the grandchildren kept popping into my head. We've got to take action. I agree. We stood before Liam and Cameron, who were now drunk, and said, Grace and the rest, you're still here. Your sleeping spot is over there. Frustrated but calm, I looked at Jake and said, Shall we go back to our own home? Yeah, that's all I have to say, and started packing my things, leaving behind a stunned Liam and Cameron and our adorable grandkids. We quietly headed back to our original home. My name is Grace. I'm 74 years old. I've lived as a housewife since marrying Jake, but I have another side. I've found a serum perfect for skin, ready for winter now. I post a picture of the serum on a well-known photo-sharing social media, and instantly, my post is flooded with likes. That's right, I'm a beauty influencer in my 70s, popular on social media. I've always been told I have beautiful skin and was interested in beauty, always searching for the right products. About 2 years ago, I started sharing my hobby on social media. Comments like, "Can't believe you're in your 70s," and my inspiration quickly spread, gaining followers from young girls to women my age. Now I even earn money by promoting products for cosmetic companies. Making money from my hobby has become my passion. Jake, once a singer, retired in his 60s but still loves singing, often going to karaoke or holding personal recitals. We, a couple, living for our hobbies, had no complaints about life. But one thing worried us. I wonder if Scarlett and the others are doing all right. I sighed, thinking of my granddaughter, a freshman in high school. We haven't seen them for 3 years now. I understand they're busy, but it's not just Scarlett. We haven't seen any of the grandkids in 3 years. They live in the next town over, close enough to visit any time. They seemed to like us, waving cheerfully the last time we met. I have an idea why they suddenly stopped coming around. To explain, I need to talk about my son. Liam, my only child, is 45 years old. He was smart, obedient child growing up, never rebellious, leaving me both happy and a bit sad. However, I was hoping that it would be fine as long as it grew well. But after graduating high school and starting work in construction, his behavior deteriorated. At the time, I didn't know, but his company was infamous for employing troubled youths in the area. Many of them would recommend the job to each other, so most employees were from that crowd. Since moving here after marrying Jake, I was out of touch with local issues, being a housewife and all. On top of that, since I was working as a housewife, I didn't even know about the companies that existed in the area. In hindsight, I should have advised Liam more on choosing his job, but it's too late for regrets. Possibly due to a delayed rebellious phase, Liam became increasingly difficult and stopped having proper conversations with us. I was surprised when Liam suddenly told me he was getting married 16 years ago. It was a hasty wedding because Cameron, Liam's wife, was pregnant. I was worried if Liam could handle parenting. But once Scarlett, our granddaughter, was born, she was so adorable that Liam's character hardly mattered anymore. After marrying, Liam and Cameron had more children, and we ended up with 7 grandkids. I never imagined Liam would become a big daddy, but all the grandkids were so cute, and Jake and I were overjoyed thinking Liam was finally showing some filial piety. The grandkids often visited our home, especially Scarlett, the eldest, who was always cheerful and caring towards her younger siblings. "Scarlett, take these sweets home. Share them with everyone." "Thanks, Grandma," she'd reply, happily clutching the sweets, distributing them to her siblings. "I'll be back soon." They always promised to return soon and usually did within a week. Our house seemed like a second home to them, which made me happy. However, our joy with the grandkids was abruptly taken away 3 years ago. The cause had to be their parents, Liam and Cameron. The last words from the eldest grandchild, "See you next week," had been bothering me. I knew they were sincere and wouldn't say such things if they didn't mean it. But I kept telling myself they must be busy or have other commitments. Then one day, Jake, looking sad, asked, "How are the grandkids doing?" After about half a year of their absence, I called Liam's house. "Hello? Liam, it's me." "Grace?" I called on a Sunday morning. Likely time for Liam to be home, but Cameron answered. She sounded annoyed, knowing it was me, which unsettled me. It's just a call to my son. There's no need for such hostility, I thought, feeling irritated. Cameron, hi. Is Liam there? Can you put him on?" "Liam's not at home right now." "Oh, is that so?" I wondered what he was doing out so early on a weekend, but then I thought to ask Cameron about the grandkids. "So, Cameron, I wanted to ask you something." I figured it was fine to inquire about the grandkids with Cameron, so I asked her why they hadn't been visiting lately. In an angry tone, "The kids are busy with school, so they can't come over to your house for a while," she said. "That's unfortunate." Busy is busy. I sighed, realizing there was nothing more to say. However, I've had hardly any interaction with Cameron, not even after their wedding. The grandkids came over on their own, so there was no need to go through Cameron. Still, I did try inviting her over for meals a few times, but she always declined, saying she was busy. Eventually, I realized she didn't want to dine with us and stopped asking. So, I wasn't sure how much to trust Cameron's words. Just as I was about to give up and hang up, I heard a beloved grandchild's voice on the other end. "Mom, who are you on the phone with? Is it Grandma? Can I talk?" "Be quiet! Go away!" Cameron hissed, trying to muffle the receiver, but I could hear everything. Then I heard Liam's voice. "A call from Mom? That's rare. What does she want with you?" I was astonished. Cameron had just said Liam wasn't home. Confused by hearing my son's voice from the background, Cameron panicked. "Hey you, go over there!" She sounded frantic, and then the call abruptly ended. It was clear Cameron hung up abruptly. What was that about? Liam was home, yet Cameron said he wasn't. And why were the grandkids refusing to talk to me? Surely a phone call shouldn't be a problem. The more I thought about it, the more Cameron seemed like an enigma. If we had interacted more, perhaps I could have understood her intentions, but I hardly knew her. I inevitably concluded that Cameron was deliberately keeping the grandkids from me. Maybe she feared Liam would share something unnecessary if he spoke to me. After that phone call, the grandkids didn't visit for 3 years. The eldest must be a freshman in high school by now. I had sent a watch as a graduation gift, but there was no thank you call or visit. My kind grandchildren wouldn't just ignore that. I became terrified thinking Cameron was controlling everything. Jake and I longed for our grandkids, but this August brought a turning point. On August 1st, just as I posted on Instagram and was about to start lunch, the doorbell rang. I opened the door expecting a visitor. "What?" Liam and Cameron with the kids? I was stunned to see Liam, Cameron, and the grandkids all with somber faces.
We came for the summer break. You must be bored, right, Mom?
Yes? Liam said just that and burst into the house from the front door. I smelled a strong scent as we passed by each other. It was a quite strong alcohol smell. I was dismayed that he had been drinking since the morning, and at the same time I was confused as to why he wasn't at work on a weekday and instead came to our house. "Excuse us for intruding." Cameron, whom I hadn't seen in a while, entered the house following Liam, without even making eye contact with me. The grandchildren, too, with expressions as if they wanted to say something, all followed their parents, heads down. On closer inspection, all of them had lost a lot of weight since I last saw them. "What's going on, Liam?" Although I was happy to see my grandchildren, their gloomy expressions concerned me more, and I couldn't comprehend the situation. "What's all this about?" Jake, coming out of his study, was also taken aback.
Just visiting for summer vacation. You wanted to see them, right? Be thankful.
Liam, slouching on the sofa, looked up at me with drunken eyes. "It's fine to visit, but what about your job? And if you were coming, you should have told us in advance."
Shut up! I was busy, all right.
I realized my sensible words wouldn't get through to Liam as he raised his voice. "Grace, get us something to drink, will you? We're guests here." Cameron sounded annoyed, ordered me around. What on earth is going on? I really don't understand. I looked at the grandchildren seeking help, but they all had awkward expressions. The usual lively brightness had vanished from all of them. The eldest grandchild looked at me as if pleading for help. His eyes seemed to scream, "Help us."
We're going to take a shower. Cameron, you go first.
As Cameron headed to the shower, Liam ordered the eldest grandchild to buy alcohol. "Are you really going to make a child buy alcohol?"
Don't meddle in other people's business. Scarlett, go do it.
"Then I'll go with her. That's all right, isn't it?"
Do whatever you want.
Liam, drunk, grabbed a beer from the fridge and started drinking, seemingly uncaring as long as he got his alcohol. I followed Scarlett out. To Jake, "Keep an eye on the grandchildren," I requested and left the house with Scarlett. As soon as we were out, Scarlett burst into tears. "Grandma, help!" While comforting Scarlett, who was rubbing her nose, I asked her to tell me what had happened. "Mom and Dad wouldn't let us come to Grandma's house. They threatened us, saying, 'Do you know what will happen if we go?' That's why we couldn't come to see you. I'm sorry." It was like that. Poor thing. It's okay. We're sorry for not knowing anything. The story Scarlett told was dreadful. 3 years ago, it turns out, Liam was fired from his job. Since then, he had been scraping by with part-time jobs, but that wasn't enough to feed a family of 9. He made the grandchildren do odd jobs to earn just enough for food, but they could only afford 1 meal a day. That's why all the grandchildren were so thin. Yet, Liam and Cameron didn't seem to have lost weight. They must have been eating well, while not feeding the children. "This watch? I've always wanted to thank you. I've kept it with me all the time. It made me feel like you were protecting us." Saying this, Scarlett showed me the watch. The watch on slender Scarlett's wrist was as pristine as new. It showed how much she cherished it. How terrible. Scarlett had to endure all this. Thinking of how the grandchildren had been enduring it in front of their parents, I felt like crying. "Please, Grandma, help us." "Well, I'm fine, but I want to help the younger ones." I embraced gentle Scarlett's shoulder and nodded at her. "Yes, I'll definitely help. Can you wait just a little longer?" "Okay." I immediately relayed the story I heard from Scarlett to Jake over the phone. Jake was furious. "What is this?" he exclaimed. After that, "We're in a bad situation here too. Come back quickly." Scarlett appealed to me with those words. Hearing this, Scarlett's face turned pale. Mom and Dad are doing something to my sisters again." "That's terrible. Let's hurry back." After finishing the errand for Liam, we hurried back home. Upon returning, an unbelievable scene unfolded. Liam and Cameron were sitting on the sofa, greedily eating snacks and drinking alcohol. Beside them, the third grandchild was massaging Liam's shoulder and arms. The younger grandchildren were cleaning up empty cans. The second grandchild was being forced to make appetizers in the kitchen. And there stood Jake, frozen. Whenever Jake tried to move, Cameron, with a devilish face, would wave the remote control on the table in front of the youngest grandchild's eyes. "What are you doing, both of you?" I couldn't help but raise my voice in shock.
Hey, you're finally back. Took you long enough. Bring that here quickly,"
Liam ordered Scarlett harshly. Immediately, the eldest grandchild said yes and brought the alcohol they bought to Liam. "Grace and Jake, you guys can sleep and stay in the garden. Take care of the kids." Recognizing me, Cameron instructed with a condescending smile. "What?" Jake and I stared at Cameron, thinking we must have heard wrong. But she didn't correct her statement and just kept that unpleasant smile. The 7 grandchildren looked at Jake and me with anxious eyes. Though shocked, we ignored Cameron's words, but the subsequent actions of Liam and Cameron were terrible, with the groans of the grandchildren echoing through the room. Realizing the situation was getting worse, Jake and I discussed the next steps in the bedroom. The faces of Liam, Cameron, and the grandchildren kept coming to mind. We have no choice but to take action now.
"That's right."
Nodding in agreement, we stood in front of Liam and Cameron, who were getting drunk. "Grace, you're still here? Your place to sleep is over there," ordered by a drunken, foul-smelling Cameron. I looked at Jake with a serious face and said, "Shall we go back to our parents' home?" "Yeah." Leaving behind a surprised Liam, Cameron, and the dear grandchildren, we started packing our things, rushing silently back to our family home.
"Grace, what's this? At least let us know if you're coming back. Jake, it's been a while. Long time no see."
We arrived at my family home to be greeted by my father Joseph, who was muttering under his breath. Despite his words, his mouth curled up in joy.
"Grace's family home is always so luxurious."
"Not really." Jake looked around the house impressed. Despite my modest response, my house was incredibly spacious and luxurious, something I couldn't mention to others. All thanks to my father, who at 95 years old is still an active violinist touring the world. There's hardly anyone abroad who doesn't know him. My father likes Jake, a former singer, but due to his busy schedule, they rarely meet. Today was their first meeting in years. "However, what brings you two here so suddenly?" "Sorry, we had to return suddenly. Didn't have time."
"What happened?"
"Well, actually," I began to tell my father about Liam, Cameron, and the grandchildren. As I spoke, my father frowned occasionally, pained by the story. It was too hard to tell, so occasionally Jake continued for me, explaining everything to my father. My grandchildren and great-grandchildren went through that. "Understood. I'll do something about it." "Really?" "Yes, but for that, Grace, you need to gather evidence of Liam and Cameron's wrongdoing. Can you do that?" "I understand. I'll try." After making a promise with my father, we hurried back home. I pondered how to punish Liam and Cameron. Jake, too, seemed deep in thought. "We're back."
"Mom, why did you come back?"
"Why, this is our house. Is there something you're worried about?" Upon returning, the first thing I saw was the grandchildren being forced to clean the room, while Liam and Cameron lay watching TV. Cameron was glaring at the slower-moving younger grandchildren. I decided to implement the plan I had thought of on the way back, confronting Liam with a firm attitude.
This is our house now. After all, you and Dad are going back to your parents' place. We don't need you anymore. I'm fed up with the apartments.
Oh, are you perhaps behind on your rent? Is that why you're trying to take over this house? I suspected that Liam and Cameron had to come to our house because they couldn't pay their rent. Considering Liam left his job for a part-time one, it seemed impossible for him to pay the rent. He couldn't even provide proper meals for the children. It was a natural conclusion. Even though their motives were exposed, Liam and Cameron didn't flinch and sported triumphant smiles.
Yeah, we young people living here will make the house happier than you old folks.
I see. Indeed, when you put it that way, then I'll give you this house.
What?
Liam was surprised by my agreement to give up the house so easily. But in exchange, let the grandchildren go.
That's impossible. We are their parents.
That's right. Hey you, clean properly. Sorry. Cameron yelled at Aaron, the youngest grandchild, in a frightening tone. I watched this moment, feeling unbearable, and waited for Cameron to calm down. Finally, when Cameron seemed pacified, I felt my heart racing as I spoke to Liam and Cameron. May I go to the bathroom?
Go if you want.
Thank you. I hurried to the bathroom, took up my mobile phone from my bag's pocket. In fact, I had recorded everything that just happened with the phone's camera peeking out of my bag. I posted the video on social media like usual. Stress is the root of skin problems. People who do this can never be beautiful. I'm going to fight them now. I uploaded it with a comment. Comments and reactions from thousands of my followers immediately erupted. Inside the bathroom, the post spread wildly with a storm of likes and comments like, "That's terrible." Surprised by the non-stop notifications, I clutched my phone and returned to Liam and Cameron. Something incredible has happened. Look at this.
What the hell is this?
I thrust my mobile phone screen at Liam and Cameron. They stared in astonishment at the videos showing them mistreating the children, spreading around the world. Their faces turned pale in no time. It's only a matter of time before the police come. So what will you do? Stay here?
How dare you? I'll sue you.
Do you realize that it's not us who should be sued, but you? Do you think you can get away with doing this to the children? As I confronted Liam and Cameron, they swallowed hard. The grandchildren seemed not to fully understand what was happening, but they realized we were trying to help them. Their eyes teared up, as if begging me for help. Just then, the sound of the front door opening made me turn around.
Grace, sorry I'm late. So you're the notorious parents. Hello, nice to meet you. Though the police will be here soon to say goodbye.
Seeing my father laughing cheerfully, Liam, Cameron, and the grandchildren were taken aback.
Who's this guy?
Your grandfather.
What?
Actually, Liam had never met my father. Since Liam was Jake's stepchild and because of my father's work, like Jake, he never had the chance to meet my father. This grandpa, I've seen him on TV. He was playing the violin.
Wow, you know who I am. That's delightful.
My father, his eyes sparkling, hugged the approaching great-grandchildren and then glared at Liam and Cameron with a terrifying look.
If you don't want to get caught, leave this place now. The great-grandchildren won't be raised by the likes of you, the worst parents.
Startled by his fierce demeanor, Liam and Cameron,
damn it,
screamed and left the house. Liam and Cameron, who were intimidating towards their own children, were actually cowards with small spirits. Jake sighed, seeing his child grow up to be such a despicable person. But it wasn't our responsibility that Liam turned out this way. I could no longer think of Liam and Cameron as family. Instead, I looked at the faces of the grandchildren surrounding us and my father. All of them looked relieved that their scary parents were gone. Grandma, Grandpa, Great-Grandpa, thank you so much for helping us. Scarlett politely thanked us. I stroked Scarlett's head. Sorry for being late. I apologized. From now on, let's live happily together. Yeah! Later, the video I posted of Liam and Cameron spread rapidly, causing a stir worldwide by trending on social media. The police didn't ignore this, and Liam and Cameron were arrested for assault, now in prison. Meanwhile, Jake and I decided to move into my father's house, following his invitation. It seems he's thinking of retiring soon and wants to spend his twilight years leisurely with us. Of course, the 7 grandchildren are with us too. Jake and I were overwhelmed with joy to live with the grandchildren. My father seemed happy too, surrounded by his great-grandchildren. We, the couple, are working to adopt all 7 grandchildren. We're looking forward to becoming their real parents soon. Our old home will likely be occupied by Liam and Cameron when they get out of prison. In fact, there was still a mortgage on that house, so I secretly changed the debtor's name to Liam's. A little revenge. I hope they'll work properly and pay off the mortgage. Grandma, your skin is so beautiful. What cosmetics do you use? Thank you. I'll show you. Recently, Scarlett, who started showing interest in makeup, came to me. I began a cheerful conversation with my grandchild, holding the skincare products and cosmetics I collected. The other grandchildren also gathered around, listening to my stories with shining eyes. Just being able to see their smiling faces makes me happy now.